Hello, viewer. If you're watching this right now, I already know you're above average intelligence. Most people are lost in an anime world or watch soccer nowadays. But you chose to click on this video. So, one thing that I've been wanting to get a smart, informed person's opinion on, because I'm a liberal guy, but there's just one thing I don't understand. How is white privilege not racist? Because as far as I can tell, it's people are now going around saying merely by the color of your skin, the virtue of something you can't never had a choice in, something that is just skin pigments or whatever, it just does, you don't know where my family came from, where I came. Maybe I'm an immigrant from, I don't know, Yugoslavia, maybe just a Chechen fighter. People, you don't know my socioeconomic status, you don't know my physical or mental health, you don't know anything about, for all you know, I could be living in some Section 8 housing project as the only white guy, surrounded by ISIS recruiters and been targeted multiple times for robberies, breaking and entries, various other hate crimes. You don't know if that's true or not, but apparently I'm privileged just because I'm white. Whenever I hear someone say that, I just imagine them saying that about any other race, and I just don't understand. So I just want someone to explain it to me. Like, so it's Islam. People believe in Islamophobia and white privilege at the same time. What if someone is both white and a Muslim? Are they privileged? Or does it cancel each other out? Do both exist at once? Are they a are they a group worthy of derision or of protection? And I'm willing to admit, I'm just because I'm white. That means I'm just simply incapable of understanding. Well, but that sounds like I would have to be a racist to believe that. That's just my point of view. I'm willing to change it if someone could convince me. And I understand there's lots of statistics saying that white people get all the breaks, get all the jobs, or slowly becoming, well, in a generation will be a minority in the country. Whatever, but there's also, because I follow left and right wing people on my Facebook feed and in the media and all this, and I just understand the how statistics work. That there's lots of stats that people who on the other side say the opposite of everything, saying, but the minorities and immigrants and this and that cause a majority of crime, and cops are good or cops are bad. So I hear both of these points of view all the time, and there's some truth in all of it. But just something about white privilege seems incredibly racist, because if you look at the color of someone's skin and assume that you know anything else about them except what what kind of makeup you should be recommending if you're a retail clerk or something, I would think anything else is prejudice, because you're judging them before you know anything else. And that's what you do on an individual level to a white person. If you think about this about all white people, that means you're a bigot, because you're bigoted against white people. And every time you say you post a video or watch and agree with something saying white splaining, white rage, white shame, just anything, white America, black Twitter. Whenever I see those things, I just imagine Martin Luther King's dream, where he said he dreamed that his children could grow up in a country where they weren't judged by the color of their skin, but of the content of their character. And I don't know how America, or, any place in the world with all these conflicts of different immigrants or ethnicities or religion, Muslims, terrorists, radicalization, gypsies, whatever, Russians nowadays, or even in America, a nation founded on immigrants, where we have all sorts of religions, skin tones, all of this. I can't imagine how we're ever going to get along if kids are learning in college that one race is more privileged than the other, and they have to atone for it. Coincidentally, just a generation or so before they become a minority. And because then it's just wheeling the hate around. So, I would think that the idea of privilege, if you're born wealthy, you're privileged. But if you're born white in poverty, how are you more privileged than a black person next door to you? It could be you're only two people on an island. If it's a social thing, if it's an institutional thing, well then what does the color of their skin has to do with it? Because what if you're black in a suburb and your kids are, and your parents are, tied to expensive Ivy League schools or something, or African royalty, and you're privileged as well in the same institutions that a lot of privileged white people get. So I can understand if there's class privilege, even though, we should have a strong middle class, but if someone could convince me, make a logically sound argument that white privilege is an American concept that will improve society, that it doesn't promote hostility, resentment, segregation, bigotry, that people don't politically correct speech. What if I told you the day after Christmas I saw a person of color he succeeded in picking open my patio door right there because he saw some of the new recording gear and a nice new digital piano I got on my birthday and on Christmas with some extra money. 2 days after Christmas, a black guy tried to break in here. And I had to chase him out, saying, "Are you fucking serious?" And a year ago, I had, everything I owned robbed. It's not. The thing is, it probably has a little bit to do with my color of my skin, because I'm one of the only white people here. I'm almost surrounded by black people, and they treat me different. I guess because I'm so privileged to be living in low-income housing with them. So, and the cops just rough me up even worse, because, I don't know, they probably rough everyone up, though. They're just, cops are dicks, so I get that, but I just don't get it. What makes me so privileged about, you don't really know me except what I told you, and trust me, I'm selling myself pretty well. It's a lot worse than put it, but and then there's people on campuses with from $1 million homes, getting the deans of universities evicted because they're too racist against them. It would have been nice if I got accepted into state colleges with a 1310 SAT score, but in almost 2.8 or something GPA. And I almost had a perfect score on my SATs. I had the third highest SAT score in my class, and I was ranked, 150 or so GPA wise, and I couldn't get accepted into any universities. But people I knew that were much stupider than me got into much nicer schools because even my high school wasn't even half white. It was just full of immigrants. That doesn't sound like privilege at all. That's affirmative action. The only thing it affirmed to me was that, man, I just suck. I am not the merit-based society. So, that's fair. I didn't deserve a decent education. But do I deserve to have to turn on the news or see my friends on Facebook sharing posts and having all these public intellectuals saying America will never improve until white people admit their guilt of the great shame of slavery and racism and the KKK? Well, there's some truth in that. But before I go, did you know that 90% of all the slaves sent to America were actually cargo of the Spanish settlers of South America who genocided and enslaved and wiped out all the Native Americans, the Native South Americans. So they had to bring in millions of African slaves to replace them as slave labor in silver mines. And then they just raped them and couldn't let them read or write or record any history. And then after a while, they all became Latinos together. And that's why they all speak Spanish, except, Brazil that speaks Portuguese, because that was a Portuguese colony. So if you speak Spanish, you're more privileged than anyone I can think of in world history, because, boy, that's a lot of land and that was stolen and a lot of civilizations that were wiped out. However, at least North America still has, Navajo and whatnot. They live on reservations. It's not ideal, but at least they didn't all die in caves. And, no, wait, there's one last thing. Oh, well. I just don't get it. I'm not racist. I'm not privileged. It makes me feel alone and uncomfortable to talk about things. But here I am talking about it because it seems like there's a lot of people who feel the same way. And they're probably expecting different out of the media from just all these award ceremonies for literature, writing, comedy, shows, gigs, just showbiz in general. It seems like there's just boycotted any white male. There's a lot of backlash happening, a lot of blowback. And it's not because these white guys, it's not because they're racist or think it's unfair. It's just because it seems like they're being judged by the color of their skin and not the content of their work. And people are just getting, raised above their station to celebrate diversity. But in America, every day you celebrate who you are because of individuality and freedom. You should be proud of your name, your identity, just who you are, what you do, your family and your friends, and your freedom in America. But I don't understand why You have to just say I'm a feminist and I hate women, or I'm like the person of color, so fuck white people. That just seems hateful and unfair. Because, some of my best friends have been other skin colors. I don't even seem to get along with a lot of black people. Seem better than white people. They're funny, in general, they're more lighthearted. They're not always going around talking about reparations and the man or whatever. Except, in hip hop shit and jokes. Because that's what music and art and humor and stuff is supposed to be about. Criticizing, the man that keeps us all down. Because when I was working at Red Bull Arena and I had to wait out in a blizzard with like 500 people from Newark, and I was one of the only I was one of the only white people there. But and I worked there for 2 years, and it was I had a lot of fun there. But I never thought I was different because I was, in a poor area of New Jersey with a different skin color at the same job. I always just felt the same as everyone else because we're all poor from New Jersey just trying to work. And we had to get along. We were a team. Co-workers, buds, you know, whatever. No one seemed to look at me any different. Would they now, though? I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of privilege and a lot of unrest and a lot of police officers being executed with bullets in the back of their brains while they pump gas and these guys go for a Trayvon as they get sentenced to like life in jail for first degree murder, for public executions. That doesn't seem like progress for race relations. Maybe someone like Kanye West could do like an ebony and ivory thing, like Paul McCartney did with some dude. You know, if Kanye says George W. Bush hates black people in the days after a hurricane, maybe he should show that he doesn't hate white people, and I don't know, have an opinion on this, because I just see people like Quentin Tarantino going, yeah, fuck the cops, fuck murderers. That is the implication there is fuck white people as well. It's very divisive and fear mongering, because what a lot of left wing people think that the right wing is always worked up in a frenzy about Muslims, terrorism, homosexuality, or whatever. You know what the left wing seems like they're in an irrational frenzy for, in a frenzy about every day? About racism, Islamophobia. Uh, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's all I ever hear about. Islamophobia, white privilege, uh, trans phobia of pre-op sports stars. I never really figured that one out. So, I mean, I'm still open for debate on this, but maybe you should think about why you are you privileged, or if you're not white, does it really make you feel better to think that someone else is getting treated different because their skin color and your perception? Because that seems like it's a way to just make you feel bad, make everyone feel bad. And America, it's America the beautiful, land of the free, home of the brave. You should be proud of being an American, and whatever skin color, however your hair is, however hard your name is to pronounce. Trust me, my name is Pavlovsky. No one has ever spelled or pronounced that correctly in my whole life, so I understand how it feels. Just why don't you start thinking about how much you have in common with other people, and then weigh that against how much is different, and then explain to me how the differences between us become privileges and handicaps when you're probably making a lot more money than I am and have had a better life. Not everyone has, but I'm not. Look at me. Look what I'm doing right now. It's obviously I don't look too privileged, do I? But I'm just privileged to think with an open mind, and this stuff just doesn't seem right to me. What do you think?